And dive in. Let's do this. I love how there's 4 people and everybody, like, are y'all afraid to sit next to each other?
Battle of the sexes.
Okay, that's what it is. So it's like, yeah. All right. I'm glad I got rid of the rest of the chairs. All right, so everybody knows me, so we'll just dive in. So today, I am actively, and Jay, do you have that recording? Okay. So I'm presenting this next week to the other Bold coaches. So you are getting something that normally you wouldn't get, except that for being in Bold, it's in the updated Bold, and yet you guys are my guinea pigs, for lack of a better word, of just me prepping to get all this sorted out. So we do want to make sure that, like, and many of you have been, or I think all 3 of you at least have been in Bold, so it's really okay for this to be a class where you stop and ask questions, and just kind of, we're going to work through that. So first off, with the seller listing presentation, right? So number 1, when you think about the seller listing presentation, what is the end goal that you're looking for?
Signed listing agreement.
Signed listing agreement, yes. Signed listing agreement, and if we were going to add anything else to it, what would it be?
A 6%.
Okay, so we like our commission. Yep, we like our commission. And we've created a relationship where they see us as the person that's going to get the job done, right? Awesome. And that we're at the right price, it's going to cause it to sell. So all of that, and so it's a process. The entire listing presentation, it's not just when you're at the house, it starts even before that. So that's what we're going to look at today. So when we look at the seller listing presentation, we want to start with the pre-qualifying. So we start with the pre-qualifying. Why do we pre-qualify buyers and sellers?
So we don't waste our time.
So we don't waste our time. We know what it is that they want up front, right? Okay. So we're going to pre-qualify, and then we're going to do a pre-listing packet. Who in here already has a pre-listing packet that they send? All right, Harrison. That may be a reason why you take a lot of listings, right? It's because, again, it's the process of building that. So we're going to look at some of the things that you can put in a pre-listing packet. And then we're going to look at the actual presentation at the appointment. Through all this is just solidifying that relationship through that entire process. So let's look at pre-qualifying for the appointments. Hey, Miss Judy.
Okay.
So let's look at some of these things for pre-qualifying for the appointment. So which appointment should we pre-qualify for?
People who actually want to sell their house.
Yeah, so we're going to pre-qualify for all the appointments. Every appointment that you have, and we're going to go over a pre-qual script. Every appointment you have, you should pre-qualify. Buyers, sellers, then you're walking in there with the playbook, right?
Are you still taking a listing that they won't come down on the price? We work with investors that won't ever budge on price. Are you still gonna take a listing like that, even if it won't sell at that price?
So, maybe. And the reason I say that is, have I had the conversation, does he know that we are going to do it from here to here? Or is it so far unreasonable that I know that I'm setting us both up for failure? Then the answer would be no. So keep in mind that it's the art of the dance, right?
Yeah.
So it might be no. Am I going to turn some listings down? Yeah.
You think it'd be a good idea to just turn it down now? Because we have rented every single one out, have not sold one of them.
Are you okay with the fact that you rented them out instead of sold them?
No.
I lose money with that.
We lose money.
So what's your answer to that?
I guess stop listening with them.
Or what conversation can you create around it so he starts listening at the right price?
He feels no pain.
Yeah. Or are you not asking the right questions? Now, I don't know the answer to that, right? I'm just saying, because it's always those things that, are there any other opportunities here? And then, yes, sometimes you would rather turn him down than let him down.
Okay.
So yeah, there are some times, like, that's a takeaway. We do not have to work with everybody. We want to make sure that we have enough business so that we can choose who we want to work with and who not to. Yeah. And sometimes that takeaway of going, well, then we can't take your listing, might help him be more realistic. Yeah. Or create something else if you guys are just doing the rental part for him. What are the options? Does that help though?
A little bit. I still don't know what to do.
So we might.
It's just difficult to work with.
Yeah. Well, and since that's separate, or that's kind of a specific, we might can take that offline afterwards, and maybe if we have some time at the end, maybe just mastermind around what that could look like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we want to pre-qualify. We're looking for sellers who must sell, not who are just testing the market. We're going to learn the following about the sellers and go on the appointment better prepared. So we want to make sure that we have their motivation. Now, when I say motivation, what do I mean?
Ask them where they want to get to.
Where they want to get to.
Or when.
Why, when.
Are you going into bankruptcy?
Are you going to bankruptcy? All of those are right, only what if we took it one step deeper and found out the why behind it? So for instance, I'm taking a new job, okay? What about selling right now is important for you, right? So it's not just because I think that's sometimes where you stop with the motivation is I'm gonna sell. Okay, great, why? Well, I want a bigger house. Okay, great, tell me about why you want a bigger house. Well, I want a bigger house because we've got a new baby on the way, and right now we're super cramped. Okay, wow, what is that impact is that having on you? Well, we're starting to fight because you see, that's the actual motivation. We want to get off of that surface level and really scuba dive into what their motivation is. Objections they're going to present, price that they're thinking about in competition they're going to be interviewing. So these are all things that we're going to be doing with that pre-qualifying. That way we go on actual listing appointments. Has anybody in here ever had somebody call them, ask them about price? You think, woo, I want a listing appointment. You go out there and you find out that they really are just looking to maybe refinance. Or like they're just they don't want to do something for 3 years. We want to make sure that we're actually talking with people that can they're looking to sell. So do your pre-qualifying when you set the appointment. So and we're going to go through what that looks like in just a bit. You can also, if you set an appointment, it's really okay if you have a team, for your staff to ask those questions as well. One good rule of thumb, because it depends on how far away our appointments are, what would be best case scenario, let's say I'm talking to Harrison, and Harrison's got a house to sell, and I'm pre-qualifying. My intent is to get an appointment when?
Within 48 hours?
Well, yeah, today or tomorrow, that's really what I want. But let's say he tells me in his schedule, we just cannot make it work until next Wednesday. At that point, I might decide not to ask the pre-qualifying questions so that it gives me a reason when I confirm the appointment to ask them then, right? And so again, because I want to talk to them again, because that's a really long time for that to be up in the air. So just some things to consider. Nothing drains energy and motivation faster than going on appointments with people who are not motivated to sell. Yeah. So let's look at what the pre-qualifying script looks like. Now, again, this is in the updated bold material, so you won't have this, and so we'll go through it, take some notes, and it'd be a really good reason for you to join the bold in Jackson that's going on. So we're on the phone, we've set the appointment. At the very end, I'm gonna say, we're gonna just jump right into this, right? Let me back up. If I'm doing it within the 24 to 48 hours, right? Now, if I were to call back, right, it was a further out appointment, so I'd call back. Hey Harrison, this is Olivia with KW, and I'm calling to confirm our listing appointment on Friday at 2. Does that time still work for you?
Yeah.
Great, awesome. So that I can fully prepare for our meeting on Friday, do you have a few minutes to ask some questions?
Yes.
Answer some questions. Okay, awesome. Now, when we last spoke, you said you wanted to sell your house and move to Florida.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. How soon do you want to have that happen?
90 days.
90 days. So you want to be in Florida in 90 days.
90 days, yep.
All right. Now, tell me about that 90 days. Is that when your job starts?
New job transfer starts, my reload package ends in 90 days.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes sense. All right. Now, have you been relocated before?
No.
Okay, so this is the first time?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is this a good opportunity? Like you're excited about this thing moving to Florida?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna make like $50,000 more a year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Now, did you get, I sent you some information about the market, and have you had a chance to look at what the market, what's going on with houses right now?
I looked at it, I didn't understand it.
Okay, didn't understand it, makes sense. So you said 90 days. If I sold your house in the next 30, would that pose a problem for you?
No, I can just go find a house down there.
Okay, so
Yeah, I just need my money from this house so I can go.
to buy one there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So as a professional real estate agent here in Monroe, I know I have access to the most accurate recent sales information. Now, obviously, we're gonna review all that information when we meet so that you can make the best decision when pricing your home. What are some of the positive features you want buyers to know about your home?
Completely updated bathroom and kitchen, big fenced in backyard,
Okay. Perfect. Okay, and any negatives about the property that could affect the sale?
My neighbor is Olivia Roberts.
Oh, gosh. I've heard about that, yes. Now, why would we ask the question, I'm gonna kind of pause this real quick, why would we ask the question about the negatives?
Yeah, you wanna know?
Get them fixed.
Just to see how big it is.
Yeah, just to see how big the negative. So I'll use an example of something. So one time, listed, you guys are gonna be familiar with the subdivision of Herrick's Beach. Listed a property out there, I did not ask that particular question. The next time I go out there, guess what? They had a gaping hole that was bigger than this room by their property.
Did they not get you one?
They were putting in a pipeline.
Let me go.
Do you think that would have been helpful information to have? Right? Because it wasn't even really, we weren't dealing with a pipeline after the fact. There's like, can you imagine going, oh, I'd like to buy this house. What is the heck is going on? There's a big hole in that property. So there are sometimes things that are gonna come up that asking that question can help. When choosing an agent to represent you, what's most important to you? Just those four.
Speed of sale.
Speed of sale. Okay, awesome. Now, let me ask you, if he had some experience with agents in the past, could he maybe, this might be when he says something like, somebody that communicates with me, like this can go anywhere, and yet by knowing that, am I gonna know a little bit more about how to make sure he stays happy and satisfied throughout the entire transaction? Yeah. Okay, and what do you need to see or hear to help you make the decision to utilize my services?
Sell my house quickly.
Sell your house quickly, awesome,
Yeah.
very cool. Now I'm gonna be sending over my seller's listing package. Will you take a few minutes and review that before we get together?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. All right, Harrison, so when we get together on Friday, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I can get your house sold and put the most money in your pocket, are you prepared to get the process started?
Yeah, I can have it ready and everything by next week.
Awesome, awesome. Do you have any questions right now?
Do you wanna talk about commission?
You can.
Okay. What do you charge? I know somebody down the road told me that it was like 4 to 5% was really the average in the neighborhood.
Got that. So whenever I come out, we're actually gonna go through all of that when we come out and we talk about price, condition, all of that type of thing. Fair enough?
Cool.
Okay, perfect. All right, and one last question. Will all the decision makers be there?
It's just me, I'm the only signer.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, I look forward to seeing you on Friday at then, okay? Now, I will kind of, if you think of it this way, I'll pause here. He said, I'm the only signer. Does that necessarily mean the same as decision maker?
No.
So I probably would have you could go a little bit further. So you're only signer. Is there anybody else that helps you make important decisions?
Right.
Could they be there as well? Right? Because again, let's say that, and it doesn't even matter, but his significant other, we do an amazing presentation. He's bought in at everything, and yet he then goes and has a conversation with the significant other, and the significant other is maybe the one that found out about the low commission or this, that, or the other, and he's not gonna be to sell it as well as you did, and then all of a sudden, or communicate it as well as you did, all of a sudden now, all he's going back to is price instead of value, right? So what are some other questions that you would ask during a pre-qual appointment?
Has the house been appraised?
Okay.
I don't even like to go off appraisal, but
Well, you could even ask something to the effect of, instead of maybe, has the house been appraised, or do you have a price that
Yeah.
you wouldn't, that you're looking to get?
yeah.
What price wouldn't you go below? Something like that. Yeah. Anything else?
Just trying to ask how much you owe on it?
You could, yes, you definitely could ask how much they owed on it right now. And so, because it really depends on the conversation, that ebb and flow. That's the coolest thing about that pre-qual. You want to make certain that you're using one, and yet you can add different questions in, you can take different questions out, right? And yet you want to have one, and that's going to be one that, have it on your computer, have it on your desk, have it in your car, have it at your house. That way, anytime that comes up, you can grab that. And because you are going to take that and actually handwrite on there all their answers. Because when we get to the listing presentation, we're going to actually pull that out and review that with them. Do you think that's gonna make a big impression when you bring that back and like, okay, I heard you, I paid attention, this is what you shared with me, right? So that's where that's gonna help you do that. So that's the pre-qual script. Now, we told them that we were gonna send the seller's guide. We call it the pre-listing packet. Don't call it the pre-listing packet with them, right? Call it the seller's guide. Call it, think, something. We used to call it the how to sell your house quickly for top dollar. Like that was the name of the PDF, right? Something that's gonna catch their attention. And what are we gonna put in there? So we're gonna put in our resume, your unique selling proposition. What is the unique selling proposition?
What we do to get home sold.
Yes, that stands apart from anybody else. If you don't have one, if you go to Lead Generation 36123 on KW Connect, the first session actually will help you create that. Okay? So you want to, what do you do that stands out from everybody else? And that's what you want. So, and it's basically, think of it as your elevator speech. So Harrison, what's yours?
Marketing and prospecting.
Marketing and prospecting, okay. So we used to say, and this is kind of, just know that you create yours. We used to say we're gonna get your house sold quickly for top dollar with the least amount of hassle. Go through there and create what your unique selling proposition is. What to ask if interviewing the other agents. Now, since you wrote this, do you think you're gonna sound better than the other agent when they ask those questions if they're interviewing multiple agents, right? And by putting this in here, they might not even ask you, and yet they're gonna see, right? And so what to ask if interviewing other agents. 47 ways to make your house sell faster. What other clients are saying about us? So testimonials. Are you gathering testimonials? That's gonna be a huge place. I actually got a call from somebody a couple of weeks ago. Well, how did you get my name and number? Well, I was asking my daughter who lives here about who I should use, and we're going through all of these things, and then I came across you and you had all these testimonials. And that was it, we were sold. Because think about it, how many of you, before you buy a book, go eat somewhere, the first thing you do is look at the reviews? That's the majority. Or we might even post on Facebook and ask the question about something, right? So are we making sure that we get enough reviews? Now in bold at step 7, we're really gonna focus on reviews and referrals and how to get those through this as well. And then meet the team. So what each specialist does for you. Now keep in mind, whether you're on a team or you're an agent with KW, you have a team, right? Because we all have a broker, right? We have somebody that is our compliance officer. We have a DOFI. We have a lender partner. So you can create what that looks like in your presentation. And then our success. So what you've sold, and if you're an agent that maybe you're not on a team, you're an individual, you can use what KW, right? Utilize that. And then property disclosures the seller must fill out. So if you send those beforehand and you walk in and they've got those filled out, or if you've done them through .loop or DocuSign and those are filled out, what do you know walking in?
That they're already done?
They're done. Like, there's very few people that's gonna fill out the disclosures and then not hire you, right? So you can either send them so they can handwrite them, or send them through DocuSign and ask them to do it up front.
So much easier to get them in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's actually, yeah, so that's what we do it on the iPad, and they just fill it out. It's super simple, and then that can be uploaded. Especially, I think that's probably one of those that are a little bit challenging to do through DocuSign. They can, and yet it's just easier in person. So now, we've got all of these items. We've walked in, we know exactly what they're looking to do and what, right? So now we're gonna look at, this is, number 9, a checklist for when we meet. So what are some of the things that could be on that checklist that you send in that pre-qual?
Tell me.
What about an extra copy of the key? You ever went on a listing, you needed, and then they gotta go make a copy? What if you even asked for 2 copies of the key? One for the lockbox and one you could keep at the office for if you needed work done or anything and they didn't have a key, right? So think about things like that. Maybe you could ask them to have what's their insurance cost, what's their payoff, things like that. That way you walk in, you have everything that you need. All right, now in that pre-listing packet, because we're still talking about that particular packet, these are some of the key pieces that you want to include. Now, keep in mind that pre-listing packet, the whole goal of that is, again, to create that relationship with the seller, and it's going to be to allay any fears that they might have. And so when we look at that, you know, we've talked about the value proposition. So why hire me versus somebody else? Addresses of homes that you've sold, testimonials about your services, and market statistics. Now, the cool thing about the market statistics is KW through the lore report, right? We get that every month. You can just include it right there in your pre-listing packet. And then what we are not going to include is your entire marketing plan. Why would we not include our entire marketing plan? It's our secret.
When, and they'll, try to do it and
Yeah, they may attempt to do it. They may share it with somebody else. And more so than any of those is, let's say in your marketing plan it talks about open houses. And they go, well, we don't want to do open houses. And that's just one example. And then all of a sudden they don't hire you over something that you would have been okay not doing, right? And then puffery about the agent. So yes, there's going to be some information about you. Don't make it all about you. It really is about them. You're grinning. What are you thinking?
Nothing.
I don't know. So we want to make certain that it's about them. It's about what we can do to get the house sold. So these are some do's and don'ts really quickly. So do, be on time, be energetic, show confidence, mirror and match the client's tonality, rate of speech, and body language. Now, we won't get into this today, and yet if you guys have been to bold, think about first step to bold. We talk about rapport, mirror and matching your body language. Make sure that you're bringing that in. Complete the contract, pre-qualify for every appointment, and ask questions, right? Ask questions. Don't go on the defense. Don't argue. Don't make jokes or small talk. Don't talk too much. How many of us, like one of the reasons that we're in real estate is we probably have like a great gift of gab. Think of it this way. Those, blessed are the short-winded, they will be invited back, right? So you want to be bold, be brilliant, be brief, be gone. Don't use acronyms, FSBO, MLS. Actually say what it is that we're doing, because they don't live in this world, right? And then don't make the appointments all about you, right? We really do want to make sure that it's about them. So, so we're going to go ahead. We're about to create and go through that listing presentation. So we want to set the stage here for a bit. So I want you to imagine that we're going to go, and who in here has been through never-ending referrals? Okay, some of you. Okay, so we're going to have a FORD conversation. You might want to write this down if you don't know it. FORD stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So one of the big pieces that we're moving forward in bold is creating conversations. It's the art of the conversation, not just memorizing a script, right? Now, while that has its place, and yet how do we ebb and flow in this conversation so that, again, it's about creating relationships. So whenever you're having a conversation with somebody, ask them about their family, ask them about their occupation, their recreation, and dreams. Behind dreams, you might actually just want to put in parentheses plans. So we're not talking about, so, what's your dreams, right? It really is about, so, I saw, last time we talked, you had just planned, y'all just come back from Disney World. What's your next plans with the family? That's their dreams, that's their future, right? So in this scenario, Jim, who is going to refer his boss, Tina. So through my calls, doing the database too, I'm calling two letters of the alphabet every single week. And when I get to Jim, I call Jim and say, hey, tell me how's everything at IBM? And Jim says, I'm super excited. I just got a promotion. I got a promotion. This is a big opportunity for me. And the lady that I'm moving into her position, she got a promotion. She's moving on to New Mexico, okay? So now we want to have that conversation and say, okay, so how do I get that referral from Jim, and then how do I have the conversation with Tina so that I'm the agent that comes out to do that, right? So I need two people to role play. So who will be Jim? Harrison.
I'll be Jim.
Harrison will be Jim. Thank you for volunteering, Harrison. And then we need somebody to volunteer to be Tina. Brenda. All right. Now, I want you to listen to this conversation, just the forward part of this, and I'm actually gonna utilize a kind of a script that we had, the Bold Coaches has created. So I'm calling Jim. We've already had that first part of the conversation. We forward, I found out he's IBM, and I'm gonna say, congratulations, Jim, on your new promotion. Do you know if your boss has secured a great agent to assist with the sale of her house?
No.
Okay. Do you have her number, and may I use her name when I give her a call?
Do you just want me to be super cooperative?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, 555-555-5555.
Okay, awesome, Jim. Thanks so much. So what does this move mean for you?
Promotion. Yeah.
Promotion?
Yeah, money.
Money?
Power.
Power, okay. All right, well, Jim, I'm so excited for you to have all of those things. That's so great, and I'll talk with you again soon. Now, so Harrison had asked the question, do you want me to be super easy? Think about, so this is somebody that they're in my database, I'm calling, I'm checking, I know him enough to know about his work. Those are usually very easy, right? Where they go, yeah, call, because we're not coming off the blind. They know who we are. They're happy. They're going to utilize us to sell their house, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to call Tina, okay? And ring, ring. Hey, Tina, this is Olivia Roberts with Keller Williams Realty. Jim actually suggested that I contact you. He thought that I might be of some assistance to you with your move to New Mexico.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah, see, now by the way, Jeff said that you were moving onto a really big opportunity. So where are you going to be working?
IBM in New Mexico.
IBM in New Mexico. Wow, that sounds exciting. Have you lived in that part of the country before?
No,
No. Where's home for you originally?
Texas.
Texas. Okay. Well, great, Tina. So Jim thought, through Jim, I thought you might benefit from a knowledgeable real estate professional like myself to help get you to New Mexico. Would you be available this afternoon or tomorrow to discuss the market and your circumstances for getting your house sold?
Yes, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, awesome. Okay. So again, it's just that forward conversation where I got to know her a little bit more. You could go further and deeper into that, and that was just a snippet, right? So now I would send Tina my pre-listing packet, and then the stage is set to do the actual listing presentation, right? So, what are some ahas, what are some takeaways, what are some questions before we get into the actual listing presentation?
I don't know if this might be a related question, but you know how you said that you asked for their friend's number, to give them a call. Well, I've had that situation. Of course, I've crossed my fingers that they would give me a call when I've asked, hey, can I have her number just to touch base with her and see where she's moving to, or is there anything that she may need that I can help her with? Most of the time the answer is no, she just wants your information. She'll give me when she's ready. So again, I cross my fingers that she'll give me a call one day. And yes, about maybe 5 months later, she did give me a call, and so we're closing on her house next month. But in that situation, when they don't want to give you their number, what else can you do or say?
Yeah, so how would somebody else in here handle that? Anybody else?
I mean, not just mail or something, literally.
Yeah, like in that scenario, somebody said, hey,
I have a friend.
I have a
that's gonna be
friend,
in
she's
New
gonna
Mexico.
call you, if they're not willing to give you their phone number yet.
Right.
Sometimes you just gotta be patient.
Sometimes, yeah,
Happens all the time.
yeah.
No.
So, and this is the thing, sometimes it is, you can only control so many items, and yet you might ask the question this way. You might say, let's say, oh no, she's gonna call you. I really appreciate you. The concern that I have is sometimes people don't like to make the first connection because they don't know that person. And I definitely I wanna make sure she doesn't end up with a weak agent, in a weak moment end up with a weak agent. If you share share her information with me, I'll just reach out, have that conversation so that she never feels awkward about calling me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so, and then they may or may not, right? And either way, now this is a little bit off topic, but how do you reward the person that's gonna give you that referral? Whether they gave you that information or not, what can we do to reward that
I
person?
send gift cards.
Send a gift card, thank you card.
I treated them for dinner, a surprise dinner, I invited her, let's go out to eat, and so I paid for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just, because it's always, we want to reward the behavior, not necessarily, because it may or may not get the result, but behavior, and they'll continue to do that. So that's awesome. Okay. All right, any other ahas when we're looking at the pre-listing piece of this?
Yeah, so we do a unique selling proposition, but I had some, like, as you were talking, I kinda had some ideas how we should tweak it. Cause it does involve a lot of our marketing stuff, I feel like I should take that out. We have an in-house stager, so why don't I have a piece from her that offers her packages as well? Cause I make money off that, so it's
Yeah.
good. Testimonials, we have a ton, and I have none in our packet whatsoever.
Yeah.
I need to revamp our meet the team, cause obviously that's changed a little bit. And there's a lot of stuff we can write about our accolades, and I don't have, I do a personal war report for our team versus the board.
Yeah.
But nothing about, you know, where we are and all that, so.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right. So, okay, so now let's move into the actual presentation. Now, this is a scripted conversation, and yet I want you to think of, so even when we think of Ford and we think of Classic Bold and Bold 2.0, you have the science of the conversation, you have the art of the conversation. So the science of the conversation is, if you think Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. The art of the conversation is deciding which questions you're gonna use where, right? And that way you're ebbing and flowing in that conversation. And so what I'm gonna, and today when we go through this listing presentation, this isn't a tech class. So we're not gonna go through, you know, exactly, you know, how to create it, how to do all that. That you're gonna do in Command. Today I wanna look at how do we utilize the conversation so that you're the person that they're going, okay, that makes sense. And we're also gonna look at the pricing piece of it. And how do we make sure that we're pricing at the property that where it's gonna sell versus, you know, it's gonna sit there forever. Because sometimes that means that we actually need to go up on price, and sometimes that means we need to go down on price. There's more than just what the comps say, so we're gonna look at that today. Okay, so to find the listing presentation, if you go into Command and you go into Designs, you can edit it there, you can download it there, and that is gonna be in Designs. Now, you have two options. You have the classic and the modern. Today, we're gonna really focus on the modern listing presentation. Now, this is what it looks like. Now, this is the template. You would delete this page when you're creating it. This just talks to you again about how to create this. So again, this is gonna be a page that you delete. I'm just covering that so you know what, when you pull that down. Now, this is the first page of that listing presentation. So you're in front of the seller, and what this might be on your iPad, it might be a paper copy, it might be, you know, on your computer. That's completely up to you, because that's where you're gonna be customizing this, because this entire presentation will need to be customized based on you and your value proposition. And then today, we're gonna cover some of the language that you can use that'll make it powerful. Because if you just take this, it's just paper. It's, are we creating that conversation that they kind of set up and take notice? So, we pull this out, we're in that, met you, we're at the kitchen table, and I say, you know, and this is a picture of their house, right? And so, we're gonna say, because we're talking to Tina, and I'm saying, so Tina, you know, doesn't your house look amazing in our material? Sure does, awesome. So Tina, you know, I have a great deal of respect for you and our time today. So, and this is page 2. You're gonna see me come in and out of this role play, right? So I flip to this page. So now you're gonna, this is our agenda. So I have a great deal of respect for you and our investment of time tonight. So I want to make certain that we cover all of the questions that you have. And so today we're gonna look at your property, your transaction timeline. We're gonna look at the custom marketing plan, and we're gonna look at, you know, representing your home. Now, I also wanna make sure that we look at our pricing and what it is gonna take to get you to New Mexico in that 90 days like you had intended. Do you have any questions or anything you'd like to add to today's agenda? No? Okay. Now, what are some of the things that they might say here that they would like to add?
Talk about commission.
Maybe commission, pricing, you know, anything, because again, you can edit this to be anything that you want it to be. And you're saying, great, and ultimately what we're gonna do at the end of today, you're gonna have the option to hire me, and put me to work to get your house sold. Fair enough? And then we move on. Now, this is the information about their property, right? So you went in, whether it was an old MLS sheet or you got it from when you pre-qualified them, or the tax assessor, right? This is all the information about their property. So now to turn this into a conversation, I'm gonna say, so Tina, you know, this is everything that I was able to find about your house, the 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,000 square foot, anything, you know, anything else. And she's gonna say, well, we converted this or we added this. Okay, awesome. So now, again, it's that conversation that you're having with them. Now we're gonna go, okay, so this is what's happening in your neighborhood. Now I'm gonna stop right here. I want you to write something down. Write this down. There's a bold law. Logic makes you think. Logic makes you think. Emotion makes you
Move.
act.
Act, sorry.
Close. So when we look at this page, it's a lot of facts, right? You've got numbers. It's all logic. So there are times for logic and there's also time for emotion. And so, and yet when we look at this, we're just giving them logical information. We know this isn't going to get them to act. What is this setting you up though for? If you know days on market and you know all the stats and everything that's going on in that neighborhood or that area, what is it? Well, you're the expert. All of a sudden, right, because can you imagine that lots of agents aren't giving this information when they walk in and do a listing presentation. So you set yourself up to be the expert in that neighborhood. So even though that's logic, could they also have an emotion about you based on everything that you have just provided them? Now the interesting thing, where can we get this information? MLS, Kelly, right? The lore report, all of this is accessible for us. So all of a sudden, now you're standing apart from anybody else. So now we look at our comparable properties. Now, obviously, you guys know where to get this, and yet with comparable properties, are we still logic or emotion?
Logic.
Logic, yeah. Now, so we've done a lot of logic. Now we want to get them into emotion. So when we look at that, what does this page say?
Your needs come first.
So who are we doing? This is about them now. So now we're moving into emotion. So now at this point, if you look at these, how can I, what's the one thing that has to happen to make your dream scenario a reality? How can I make that happen for you? Why is that important to you? If we could add just one more thing to make the process even better, what would that be? Why is that important to you, right? Why is that important to you? What about that is important to you? So this is where you're gonna actually have dialogue with them to find out, and they're gonna do all the talking at this point, right? And so now we're getting into that emotion. And remember we talked about motivation earlier? What about that is important? That why is that important? That's where you're actually getting into the motivation versus, well, I just wanna move because I want a bigger house. That's not the emotion behind it. So we want to get to the emotion. Because when we come to pricing, that's going to really play a big part of it. If we don't know their motivation, we may actually not help them get where they want to go because we haven't keyed into that. Now, the next page that we're going to go through is the process. Now, again, this is something that you would edit based on your process. Now, we look at the process because lots of sellers, even though they may have sold or bought before, they don't really know what are the steps of the entire process. So you'll go in and you'll edit it so that they know what that looks like. This is where this whole material is supposed to, you want to customize this. This is your custom marketing plan. Okay, so these next few, that's your custom marketing plan, and it's going to be a little bit different for all of us, right? So I kind of pause right here. We're only about halfway or just a few slides into this listing presentation. And what are some of the things that are jumping out, or are there any questions at this point? No? Okay. All right, so now we want to look at finding your buyer. Now this is one of those pages that if we're not careful, it just becomes more logic. So I would ask, so Tina, what's something that stands out to you on this page? Now Tina can't see it from where she's sitting, so where do buyers come from? Real estate agent, and all of this is internet. Okay? And then this says, open houses, like they're all just these little bitty things. So, so when I said, so Tina, what stands out of you about this? She's probably gonna say, wow, all the buyers are coming from the internet. And I'm gonna say, absolutely, like, and what's interesting is we do know that 90% of people go to the internet before they go drive by a house, they go, and yet we notice that second is from the real estate agent. And most people that start on the internet, people that start on the internet, they end up with a real estate agent. Now, this is the cool thing about working with me is I'm with a company, Keller Williams, and Keller Williams actually has something that nobody else has. It's called Your Listings, Your Leads.
Yes, sir.
So when people are out there on the websites and they're looking, a lot of those leads are gonna get funneled back to me. And who better to tell people about your house than myself, who's gonna know more about it than anybody else. So when you work with me, you actually have a much better opportunity to close